All right, welcome back. We're still on the subject of federal law, and I want to talk about the Endangered Species Act of 1973. This is historic landmark legislation. I've included in Module 2 a little bit of the law and also an executive order implementing the law. Just to let you know that when we talk about federal law, we also have to look at executive orders by the president, how the president is going to interpret the law, what orders he's going to give for the enforcement of the law. The general thing about the Endangered Species Act is that it allows the United States Fish and Wildlife Department of the Interior, they can classify an animal as an endangered species. And then once that occurs, all the departments of the federal government have to make sure that their regulations and rules do not further endanger, do not further harm these animals that have been declared endangered. It's a very complex scheme. It's a landmark legislation, but I want to focus on a particular case called Lujan versus Defenders of Wildlife. What happened in this case is that a group of kind of like Carol Baskin's group and PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, well, another group called the Defenders of Wildlife. They sued Mr. Lujan, who was the Secretary of the Interior. What happened was that the federal government had given some aid. The United States government had given aid both to Egypt and to the governments of Egypt and Sri Lanka in order to build some dams and other hydrological projects. And these projects were going to affect the habitats of the Egyptian crocodile and the Sri Lanka spotted leopard. And these were animals that were on the endangered species list. These were endangered species. And so what happened is members of the Defenders of Wildlife who had traveled to Egypt, specifically spent a lot of money to go see the Egyptian crocodile. Some had gone to Sri Lanka, off of the Indian subcontinent, and to see the spotted leopard. They said, look, we want to challenge the federal government's aid projects here because these projects, if they go through, are going to endanger, further harm these very rare, the habitats of these very rare animals. And so they wanted to sue to enforce the law. And so Lujan makes a very important case because you have to ask yourself, it's not enough to have a law, right? The law has to be enforced. And who is going to enforce that law? Generally, when you're talking about criminal law, well, that answer is easy, right? It's the DA, it's the district attorney, it's the prosecutor working with the police, right? The police will make an arrest and present evidence to the DA's office or the state attorney's office here in Florida, here in Orange County, and then the DA will decide whether to press formal charges, that kind of thing, bring an indictment. And we'll look at the criminal process in Module 5. We'll look at more details. But what about what about other types of laws? When can a private citizen sue in court to enforce our laws? I'll talk about that in the next video.